Welcome to the Branding Laboratory, where we explore the art and science of branding. I'm your host, Deevo, Tindall, brand strategist, storyteller, and master photographer. Join us as we dive deep into the captivating stories, expert insights, and practical tips to help you elevate your brand and connect deeply with your audience. Let's get started. All right, then. Welcome to the Branding Laboratory, where we dive deep into the art and science of branding and have candid conversations with entrepreneurs and CEOs, really to uncover the essence of their brand and what they do and the value proposition that they're bringing to their audience and to the world. I'm your host, Deevo. I'm glad you're here. I am the Chief Experience Officer for the Brand Storyteller and the Fusion brands, and I am a master photographer, brand strategist, and serial entrepreneur. And my mission is to help leaders and small business owners tell their stories and build powerful brands that resonate and connect with their audience. Today, I have an incredible guest who's going to share some valuable insights on how she's helping business leaders and their brands become truly iconic. Our guest is
Yes,
I got it right. And Moitt, am I saying the last name?
yes.
Okay, cool. We probably should have clarified that in the green room beforehand, but nonetheless, Kojenwa Moitt, she's the CEO of Zebra Public Relations. She's a dynamic force in the world of branding, which is why we have her on the show, duh. And she's also big into PR, which is something I really am actually exploring myself right now. So we need to have maybe a breakout conversation on this. She has a background in the arts, entertainment, theater, and I believe television, movies, that sort of stuff. Did I read that
All
properly?
of the above, yeah.
Damn, girl. And she's just going to just jump in and we're going to have a candid conversation on all the things she's doing. And I really like to start every show with, do you have a brand that you really admire and why?
Oh, I just spent 2 months in Paris just before the Olympics, and
Wow.
omnipresent, ever present, always dominant Nike. It doesn't matter what corner of the world you're in. If you were in Djibouti, you would see a Nike ad, I promise you. It's just so prominent, right? And it's such an American icon. The idea being, listen, just do it. Just do it.
If it weren't for Michael Jordan, would Nike be Nike?
You know what? I don't think so. He is a level of celebrity that we have never, ever encountered. I was told once that even before he enters a room, they announce he's going to enter the room, and that his gait is so specific that when he walks in, he commands his power. Like he's branded down to how he communicates from his body.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if that's accidental or on purpose, but he's never changed. I've seen him when I grew up in the Michael Jordan era from when he was in college. I just dated myself, but he's always had that, you call it a gate. He's always had that sort of destroy everything in my presence if you get in my way walk.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild. Some stars are just born.
Yeah. There's a really fantastic show, not to get off topic, on Netflix. I think it's The Last Days or something, or if you have not seen it, it's on the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. It's on Netflix. I want to say it's The Last Dynasty or The Last Days or The Last Dance. That's what it's called, The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Watch it. Phenomenal TV filming. Just phenomenal. And if you're a Jordan fan like I am, he's really the only truly. So I grew up in California and I have I've been in some high profile situations with my job and my life and the things that I do. So I've had the opportunity to be around celebrities. I've never been the gaga guy over celebrities, but I'm pretty sure if Michael Jordan entered my presence, I would be like fangirling all over the place.
Basically fangirling.
I would be like, oh my God, Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan. That's how I would totally be.
Yeah, completely. There are some people that will just do that to you. I have always said to myself, the training as an actor is one in which you must ground yourself. You must know who you are first. You must be anchored, steady, and present, and understand who you are before you can play someone else. But someone like Michael, because he knows himself so deeply, it's almost unnerving, right? It's almost frightening to look at somebody who's so aware of who they are and can see what's in front of him right then and there, right? So if you're destabilized by not knowing who you are yourself, that can be difficult. But yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you're going to love this show. So give it a listen. It's really fantastic to see his meteoric rise and what he's done for basketball and the NBA and himself and the Chicago Bulls. And I always think about, I had a show recently with a gentleman who he calls himself the ripple maker. And it's an interesting concept to think about the ripples that everything you do, from starting your business to making the decision to go into theater or go becoming an entrepreneur, or my daughter started college yesterday, and every little thing. I think a lot of times we forget about that. No matter what it is, every decision, every action has a ripple in an infinite direction and creating, whether it's opportunities or whatever it is that we might not have had or considered prior. And just the idea of ripple makers, it's just always a phenomenal concept.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Honestly, I remember working on set with Denzel Washington on the set of John Q, right? I had to play a
Mm-hmm.
nurse. They had built out an ER room for us, and we had to play act. When I'm standing in this room with this phenomenal actor that I respect and love and have this huge admiration for. And he turns around to me and he says, "You have to do what you do now so you can do what you want later," right? And this idea, I
Wait,
mean,
say that over again. You have to
he,
do
he
what you
said, do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later.
building your legacy.
Build your legacy now. Do
Mm-hmm.
the hard work now. Do
Mm-hmm.
what it takes now. Work hard. I mean, he's sweating profusely. He's playing a
Mm-hmm.
dad whose son just collapsed on the baseball field, and he's got to figure out how to get a new heart. Insurance has always been a problem, right? This is what a lot of folks are going through right now, figuring out about medical bills. But do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later. And I always took that. And I said, I will do the work now so that I can do what I need to do later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
reading a book right now, and I'm sure you've heard of it, James Clear, Atomic Habits.
I
Have you?
think I've heard of it. I think I've heard
Yeah,
of it.
and he has
Yeah.
similar disposition on, don't focus so much on goals and like where you goals are really grandiose. It's they're almost sometimes unachievable. Rather than setting goals, learn to reframe and start establishing habits, poignant
Mhm.
habits that ultimately build itself, like climbing a ladder. Instead of looking at the ladder at the top rung and be like, how the hell am I going to get up there? Let's just take one step at
One
a
step
time,
at a
right?
time.
And
Yeah. One foot in front of the other.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so his whole purview is, instead of setting these massive, incongruent goals that just seem crazy lofty, start reframing your paradigm to establish habits,
Yeah.
multiple habits that will
Yeah.
ultimately get you to the goal, whatever that might be.
Or how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
let's talk about you and how you're eating an elephant one bite at a time. How did you become who you are and what you're doing? Were you always in this space? I know you've played in the thespian world and you've been
Yeah.
involved in a lot of the PR space around that. But how did you become Kojenwa today? What were some of the milestone markers along the way?
I come from actor world. I was very lucky. I got an opportunity at 19 to be in a very well-known show, like a Degrassi out here in Toronto. It was a friend who told me to come to the casting. I had no expectations and no inhibitions, frankly. And I
Mm.
think I always come back to that, right? Getting wrapped around the idea of who I am is not really my thing. It's just do the work, right? But ultimately, I landed up in New York. I was looking for something. I was looking for stardom, I think, in New York. And I made the play. It's not a decision that a lot of people would have made. I had to struggle. I
Mm.
had no money. I was working at Puffy's place. He had a restaurant called Justin's. I didn't even really have my papers. I'm working under the table for a long time. I made no money. I had to grind. I had to grind. And then ultimately, I met someone in real estate, and she's, I need an assistant. And I can see that you work really hard. And that was my leg up, honestly. I was able to stabilize with a regular check every week, even though it wasn't a lot. It was a lot, heck of a lot better than what I was doing waitressing. I still respect waiters and
Yeah,
waitresses to this point. They work so hard to
totally.
remember all the orders and everything. I was more interested in Lennox Lewis coming in for dinner.
If let me just interject there for a second. If you've never waited tables before, you don't understand the context of this and what you just said. But
That's
I've often told I have two daughters, you truly should wait tables at some point in your
at
life,
some point. Yeah,
just so you can understand the humility, the
that's right.
effort. the hard work, the fact that you are doing something for someone else and
Yeah.
serving others in a
Yep.
very low, no pun intended, but low gratuitous platform. It's like,
Yeah.
just give me my food, fool. We don't care about anything else. And I waited tables before, and I just remember thinking, this is the most humiliating and humbling experience
Humiliating.
simultaneously at the same time. And if you can learn to drop your ego at the door type of thing, you can do anything.
Devo, it was so bad. I couldn't balance a tray of drinks. I was nervous. It was a mess. I probably cost the money. So finally, when I got into real estate, I was like, okay, I think this is more my speed. And then I started to learn how contracts are made, how deals are made, how opportunities are rendered, how people get what it is they need, stabilize, housing. And so I learned New York back and forth, best shape of my life, up and down, because I couldn't afford car service.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned all of New York, and that was great. And then it was a bad day one day. I fell out with the boss, broke up with the boyfriend, everything collided one day. And I walked into the Hilton on 57th and 7th, and they had a huge MBA fair. And I said, this is what I'm doing for the next several years of my life. Let me get these letters after my name. These letters are MBA, and I'm going to figure it out. And so I spent 2 years in Boston at Holt, got my MBA, and basically graduated in 2008, which was the largest stock market collapse, right? The catastrophic collapse. And so I had to figure it out. How do I make money in this
Mm-hmm.
economy? There are no jobs. I'm just going to have to take those PowerPoint slides that were given to me and run the ball forward. And that's what I did. I drafted my first contract, found my first client.
And this was the business zebra.
This was the business Zebra. I think I'm probably like antecedent to Zebra. It was like forming already. Okay. I
Yeah.
have a consulting company that offers this.
Yeah.
And the trade literally was, Devo, I'm going to book meetings and appointments for you for your business, the
Mm-hmm.
appointments that you need, of course, in exchange for money.
Mm-hmm.
That was the transaction.
I want to go back to you said the MBA piece, and this is just a genuine curiosity of mine because I don't have an MBA. I actually started an MBA program many years ago, and I just found that I'm not a proper candidate for sitting in the classroom. Do you think that had you not gotten your MBA, you would still have found a different trajectory to ultimately be where you are today, or was the MBA the catalyst that sort of set the stone in formation?
That's a really interesting question. I think it was the catalyst because I did not have confidence around business. Remember that people in the actor modeling world are categorically told that they're not intelligent. Sometimes you look a certain way, but you probably don't have the skill set. It was me paying into myself. It was me putting my money where my mouth was for me, right? For me, I said I'd rather take a 1 year program than a 2 year program. I don't need to go to Harvard to get where I am, but I do need some foundation.
I had a guest on a few weeks ago who has three MBAs and a PhD from Stanford and Harvard
Yeah.
combined. And I'm like, wow, that is a lot of amazing credentials and a lot of schooling. And she was like just hyper talented in what she's accomplished. But I'm always curious about the school thing because I personally am not a big fan of college or the institution of learning in the capacity of like how it's done today. That not learning, let me make
Yeah.
a section there. Learning is perpetual for me, but going to actual college and doing it, I've always
Hmm.
wondered, is it really necessary? Can you still make your
Of
way without
course.
having those degrees?
Many
When,
people have.
when you
Yeah.
look back at what you've done so far, were there any pivotal moments that ultimately have shaped this trajectory that you're on and brought you to like these aha moments when I look back and is there that can you pinpoint any of those specifically?
Oh my God, there have been so many. Not all money is good money. Sometimes you're working with a client that maybe you had to chase down. It was irritating to even get there. Finally, you sign off. Next thing you know, the client doesn't really honor your time or your energy or your effort or doesn't use critical thinking. My whole thing is critical thinking, right?
Mm,
Can you put a thought together? Can you string some ideas together that are going to be spelling success, not only for you, but for the other person that you're with? For me, catalyst has always been travel. I gotta say, like much like you, I live for travel. I love perspective. I love seeing humans in their humanity.
oh yeah. I've often said if I ruled the world, you would be required to, let's get rid of
Yeah.
war duty. You're required when you turn a certain age, let's just
Yes.
say 18, that you
Yeah.
have to live in a
Have to.
non-native speaking language country for 1 full year. 365 days has to be a place where they don't speak your language. You have to learn, immerse, completely acclimate yourself to someone else's culture, and it would literally change the world in which we live in.
I think we should run it forward to the Department of Education because I have myself felt the same way. There is an education that you get, right, from leaving home and going to another locale where you have to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think the Department of Education is interested in that pathway, to be honest with you. That you mentioned critical thinking. One of my biggest problems I have with public education in of itself is that they're trying to repress critical thinking, in my opinion, and just
Yeah.
train robots to join the corporate workforce and work for someone else. But that's a different rabbit hole we won't go down. I
Yeah,
just want to get it
listen.
in there. Just want to throw it in. If
Listen,
anyone's
I have done
listening.
my share of corporate. It was not for me personally.
Same.
I knew very quickly after leaving that cubicle, honey, at 4:45
Mm-hmm.
that it was not going to go good and that I would be severely depressed if this was going to be my routine day after day.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, it's a calling,
Yeah.
and not everybody's built like this, by the way.
No, and it's interesting to have that conversation with people. When you meet entrepreneurs, I generally see there are a few underlying core values that almost every entrepreneur shares. One of them centering around the idea of being able to create your own world and freedom and autonomy. But it's interesting when you look at if you look at your visuals, how many ever years ago as a corporate employee versus your visuals of what you're doing now. And what I mean by visuals is if you had to put on a storyboard in front of you what my life looks like today and my opportunities and all the cool stuff I'm doing on
Mhm.
one side as entrepreneur Kojenwa, and then you had corporate Kojenwa, those visuals would be radically different. And I'm just curious, as a entrepreneur now, a successful entrepreneur, what do you think are the core elements that embodies who you are and what you're doing?
I think the core values would be just integrity, just this idea that everybody deserves an opportunity to be amazing. Everybody deserves an opportunity to be successful and to have what they need in life to thrive, right? I don't buy into the idea that some have to be that much further ahead, right? For someone else to not be, so that person can be that much further ahead. I don't believe in the idea that people should necessarily be poor, right? Poor is a relative concept.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when I built the company, when I built Zebra, it's the idea that everybody deserves an opportunity to be a VIP, deserves love, right? We all deserve to be loved, hopefully to be happy, right? Happy is a conundrum, right? Where there's always that internal conflict, that next thing, the very Maslow that we're looking to get to that next level so that we can self-actualize. And when we do, we are most happy. So I'm always looking for ways to eradicate depression, anxiety, sadness that you see so rife.
Mm. Let me unpack that for a second. And there's actually three other things I'd like to unpack with you that you said, and I wrote them down. So I'm going to go in inverse order. Everybody deserves happiness or everybody deserves success, but that's not the same as everybody earns this, right? Like
That's correct.
it's one thing to feel qualified and have a faith in I should have some form of success, but you can't just eat bonbons and sit in a chair and hope that everyone else is going to hand this to you. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different things that go into this. You're saying that, correct?
Of course, of
Okay.
course. I am a Black woman living in America, honey. It's a workout.
Yeah.
It's a workout. You got to put some work in. Absolutely. And I have had to, and one has to in life.
I
Put
filmed
yeah.
on Sunday, I was filming the Black Women's Manifestation and Abundance Conference here in Charlotte, North
Oh,
Carolina.
beautiful. Where was that? North
here
Carolina?
here in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Oh,
and they
nice.
had these amazing individuals from all over. There was a couple outside of America that showed up, but their keynote speaker, her name is Cindy Fripp. She's the
Uh-huh.
former. Check her out, man. She's a powerhouse. She's the
Perfect.
former. I don't know if she was the prime minister or the president of Bahamas. I don't really know,
Wow.
but yeah, 30 years ago, she ran the country by her.
Mhm.
I'm using her lexicon. And anyway, she was closing out her hour-long lecture that she was giving this audience of powerhouse women. And one of the things that just really, and I've struggled with this, I felt like she was actually talking to me.
Mhm.
She's an evangelical minister now, is what she does. And she was talking about how there's a bunch of turmoil going on the planet right now. Just wherever you look, or if you turn on the TV, if you go into
There
social media,
is.
like there's just nonsensical stuff going on.
Fair.
And I've already held this opinion from her when she said it's all designed to polarize and divide humanity, which I completely agree. But what I'd never heard anybody prophetically and eloquently say is that she said, this is not your business. This is not your lane. Stay out of that lane. Focus on the things that you do, that you can control, that you can apply to affect other people in a positive capacity.
Mhm.
And I was like, girlfriend, you are literally like, I literally got goosebumps.
Focus
I
on
had,
that.
I put my camera down for a second. I was like, wait, you
Yeah.
got to keep filming. And I was like,
Yeah.
anyway, so when you think about yourself and your
Mhm.
core philosophies and what you're doing, what are you doing in your world to pay it forward, to make the planet a better place, to make the individuals that you're touching their lives, to make them better? What is it at the core of who Kojenwa is? What does that look like for you?
Deevo, I manifest it through the clients I represent. I have to be honest with you. I'm working with a new client. Her name is Alexandra Miles. She's got Project Blackbird. She was just saying that we all have mental health that we need to maintain. And she runs a bunch of panels. We're doing one at the UN next month. We're doing one at the TIFF Festival here in Toronto International Film Festival with a series of actors, well-known actors, celebrity actors, NFL, NBA members of, so that they can impart to us that they also struggle with mental health. And here are
Mm,
some of the things that I can do, that you can do to shed shame around that, to
mm,
talk about it a little bit more. And so that's really inspirational to me, that I bring on what I need to help spread the information. I am only one person, but I always say through the clients I represent, I can do more, right? I can represent painters that are doing massive murals that communicate huge ideas,
mm,
just as I can represent a sea moss brand that's got sea moss drinks that are minerals that replenish your body. So I'm only one person, but through the channels that I operate from, I affect the world in a wonderful way. I'm just so proud of the energy we've put out there. But yeah, I would say lately it's been Project Blackbird. It's all about shedding shame around talking about the stress that we go through, the mental anxieties, the anguish that we go through. Some of it is generational trauma,
mhm.
things that have been handed down to you from past generations that you have to dissolve or work through, and that's okay. We're just learning this now, by the way.
Yeah.
Our forefathers were came from the silent generation. I had to tell my mom the other day, you didn't talk about things.
I'm learning that concept and I've been studying it for the last few years. You're talking about epigenetics, is
Yeah,
like how we carry not only our ancestors, but
yeah,
this can go back multiple lineages and it just gets
yes,
carried and transported cellularly, DNA.
that's
That's
correct.
phenomenal. You're like a chameleon catalyzer, is what I hear you say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
Meet
would
the
say that.
meet the people where they are, find out what their strengths
Yes,
they bring to the table, and then
that's right.
help push and amplify that
Help
forward.
push it. Yes, exactly.
That's really
As
cool.
was done for me, right?
I'd like to actually chat with you about that offline because I have some stuff that I'm working on, selfishly speaking, if I may make this about me for a minute. No, but I would
Mhm.
like to talk about that with you offline. I want to unpack something else you said earlier because I think this is really critical. This morning, I actually posted on my social media about an experience that I'm having with a client right now who had alternative or who had completely different expectations around what they expected me to deliver. And so I centered the post around what you should do when you get a bad review. And you mentioned something earlier. You said not all clients are your clients, and you have to be able to be discerning enough and intuitive enough, in your words, to understand who works for you and who doesn't work with you. So,
Yeah.
how do you handle that? How do you fire a client? How do you, as a brand, find, because it's really important. I think a lot of people, and this is really goes out to early entrepreneurs. I think and this is what I see in my consulting business when I'm working with early entrepreneurs, they feel like everybody is their business and I'll do whatever I can
Mhm.
for everybody just because I want to make money.
Mhm.
And I have to pull them back and say, bro, you need to roll back a little bit and think about
Mhm.
that for a minute because to your point, if you're working with people who don't fill your cup, who are taking advantage of your resources, and you only have a finite amount of resources, right? Then you're going to burn yourself out really quickly. So it's really important that when we're being hired by clients, we're also hiring them so that we can make sure that we can show up in the best possible light to deliver the best quality results in the most efficient, effective manner. So it's really important to be able to target and identify who your buyers are, who your sellers are, and who your collaborators are. Sorry, long-winded. How do you handle that sort of thing in determining this would be the ideal superstar client for me?
Yes, you know what? You have to write things down. I carry a notebook, typically what's on my desk, my notebook, my pen, my coffee, my ears, a couple phones, right? And I need you to write things down. Write down what you need to manifest. I'm looking for a client. We call it an avatar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Who is my avatar? I'm looking for a client that doesn't devalue my time, doesn't feel like they can just call at random hours of the night. Everything right now in my life, we have to start scheduling things. I have somebody who manages my calendar. I don't even manage my own calendar, as ostentatious as that sounds. It's really what's going to work. And the client that can respect this is the client that I want to work with,
I
right?
don't think it's ostentatious at all. I think that your energy, your vibration, your resources, your expertise, the acumen that you bring to the table is like a bank account.
Yeah.
You only have a finite amount of it. And if you're constantly giving, I'm losing camera one here. Guys, we're losing camera one. Can you go back to the other one? Can you hear me? There we go.
I can hear you.
Don't like
Yep.
that same angle. If you're constantly giving out resources to people all the time, then eventually a bank account, if you're always spending and not doing anything, investing, whatnot, that goes to an empty. So when you look at your avatar, and I love that term, when
Mhm.
you look at your avatar, what are some of the profile characteristics of them, and how do you define who that is that you work with?
Okay, I'm looking for somebody that knows that I'm very good at PR, branding, and marketing, and that they are not the expert. They may have had some expertise in that in the past, whatever that is. You come to me, you don't know shit. You don't know shit, because I've been here for the last 15 years working on different profiles, and there's a lot of data energy that I'm holding, that I'm carrying. And they have to relinquish that control to me, to my team, right? And come in basically naked. I don't know what I'm doing. Here's what my top three things are that I need to see happen. Help me build that. And we will build that for them. So that's what I'm looking for ultimately. I'm looking for somebody that understands time value of money. These are my rates. Okay, this is my rate. This is my A rate. This is my B rate. Which rate do you want to go with? I'm looking for decisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a decisive leader? Are you somebody that can make a call? It's tough. That's okay. Can you make that call? You have to be able to speak up so that I know. I mean, every transaction, every call that I make is a transaction, right? So we don't have time for indecision. I'm looking for decisive leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking for you to be an expert in your subject matter, quite frankly. You work on the content. I always say content is king. So you need to make sure that you're amazing at what you do. You, Deevo, you probably are an expert in camera lenses and angles and framing. You don't need to worry about like when your flight lands in, right? I just want you to stay in your lane and do your work so that I can be great at doing my work, so that when we join forces, we are absolutely stoppable,
Mm-hmm.
unstoppable. And I don't care what it is that you do. I'm industry agnostic. So it didn't really matter if you make pizzas for a living, you make shoes for a living, you're telling me you're a coach. There's a lot of bullshit artists out there. I do test, right? I do have a funnel. Most entrepreneurs out there, we have a funnel where we have to take call at the top, determine in that call whether we are aligned. It's called alignment. Do I
Mm-hmm.
like you? Do you like me? Do you like the cut of my jib? Yes, I like the cut of your jib. You seem cool. And now we have to figure out, is there work to do? Is there work to do? Are there resources to do it with? And do I like the cut of your jib?
Brilliant.
So I'm a straight shooter. I don't really have time for like the peripheral stuff. I like to get to the heart, to get cut to the white meat, as we say.
When you're working with clients in a new capacity and you're trying to cut to the jib and get to the point, do you have a unique value proposition that's very clear that you try to share with your audience so that they're very clear on what problems you're going to solve for them?
100%. We really narrowed it down very carefully. As we are experts in PR, marketing, and branding, our value proposition is we are here to make you famous.
Mm,
Period. If that is something you're interested in, if you're looking to become an icon, don't manifest me if you're not ready, kind of
mm,
thing, right? I've had people come to me, I want an opportunity to be a housewife on Bravo television. When I call you and tell you to come to the casting, you need to be ready. And that means you have to drop your thing that you're doing that day if it means coming to casting to do the work. So it's and that's again what I mean by having the right. I have clients that they fly on the side. This is a stewardess, right? But they know their schedule a month in advance so that they know when they can take their meetings. There aren't a lot of cancellations. I don't generally cancel meetings.
mhm.
Just if I have to put you on television tomorrow, that's studio time. And we can do that, right? Everything again is a function of your content, your resource, your money, and putting that to use, putting that to work so that you can be this larger than life entity. There is a process, right? There absolutely is.
For people who are listening in and they want to determine whether you might be the right candidate for them to help them become famous, tell me a little bit in terms of the types of services that you offer. What does the pathway of becoming famous look like in all different forms? Social media, television, press. Tell me a little bit about that if you
Yeah, I would say the pathway is consistency and a great plan, right? You need to be a storyteller. Most publicists out there don't even call themselves publicists anymore. They say they're narrative storytellers. They're able to build a story about you, about your brand, about what you do, right? So we call it marketing blueprint map. These are twice monthly meetings. We're going to
can.
sit down and map out the next 6 months of your marketing life. And so what does that look like? Does it look like I'm taking a meeting with so and so and so twice a month? For someone who's got a product, it's, well, how do we get in touch with Whole Foods? What's a pathway to that? And Kroger. And there is a pathway to that. So we have to build your profile on Range Me, for example. Maybe you're a coach and you're like, I need more appointments. How are we going to find who we need to speak to? You may have to build out an event, right, where you invite people and you throw some freebies out and people get to experience what it is that you're able to do. So we have to build what I call a marketing map in all facets, in social,
Mm,
in traditional. That means, do I have radio appointments? Do I have TV appointments where I can talk about what I do? Are there any other stages that I can join? Is that booked for me on the calendar? I know in November I'm going to be on a TechCrunch stage speaking about startups. Um, and also, what am I doing for my community? That's my newsletter, my mobile media community. Everybody's got this old bad boy in hand. It doesn't matter what corner of the world you're in. If Facebook goes down and Instagram goes down, do you have a list of folks that follow you? And so for me, I say if you come to the website, and we're at zebrapublicrelations.com, there's a little icon at the bottom, and that's my super peer channel. So I'm regularly having free live streams, free events where I'm going to talk about one thing. Maybe it's like, hey, entrepreneur, this is how you edit your video so that
mm,
you can push that out to social. Hey, entrepreneur, this is how you create I don't know, a flyer with a QR code on it.
mhm.
Hey, entrepreneur, this is how you live stream, by the way. These are the tools you need. All kinds of things. It's all about your visibility. It doesn't matter if you've got the greatest product in the world, Deepo. If people don't know, that's on
Mm.
you. That is on you.
That's a really good point. If nobody knows about you, how do they know about you? But also, people don't buy your product. I'd like to throw in there and
Yeah.
just did they buy the experience they had with you? Would you agree with that? And it's not so
Yeah.
much your product is how did you make them feel? What's the emotional connectivity they have with your product or your service or you
Yes.
in general? Like you talked about not everybody is your ideal client. sometimes you just have to step away from something. And sometimes, and again, if we're trying to sell to everybody, I know this sounds cliche, you're selling to
Mhm.
literally nobody. So being able to hone in on that is really critical. I have a point of the podcast where we take questions from our audience. If I may, can I just bring in one? It's in a fast-paced world. I'm sorry, in a fast-paced industry like PR, how do you balance staying current with trends while maintaining the integrity of your brand messaging? That's from Landon here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, Landon, so you're wondering how we keep integrity, is that correct, in our business?
How do you balance staying current with trends
Ah,
while maintaining the integrity of your brand messaging?
got it, got it. So it's important to take time, Landon, to look around, right? Like we often get lost in social media and online for hours, right? Doesn't your phone tell you, hey, your usership is up 23 minutes this week? Take time, carve it out if you need to. Hey, I'm gonna scroll through trends. Quora, Quora. I think people are chatting. Reddit,
Mm.
people are chatting. People are talking about things. It's important to be in the cultural diaspora in these
Ooh,
forums,
I
which
like
are
that.
online. They do exist,
I
right? And
like
we,
that word you just rolled out there,
yes, honey.
diaspora. Hey.
So you have to be current with what people are talking about. They're talking on Twitter, sorry, X. They're talking on X. They're
I, st-
talking on
I still call
LinkedIn.
it Twitter, also. I can never
I
get it over.
still that's where they're talking. So if you want to be involved, go where people are talking.
Mm.
Go where people are talking. So I would absolutely recommend Quora, Reddit, Twitter. That's where community lives, right? Instagram, not so much because you're scrolling through images, but also reading, right?
Mm.
And they will tell you if you're a CEO, you're doing well if you're reading. Read a lot.
I beg to differ with you on the Instagram one, though. I generate
Yeah,
a large amount of revenue from Instagram
there you
in
go.
in the form of indirect marketing because I've
Mhm.
been on it and play in that sandbox consistently. I speak very candidly to my audience. I have a decent
Mhm.
following of people, and I have found Instagram actually personally to be more effective for me over LinkedIn. And again, that's just
Oh,
me. That
that's
doesn't
just
mean it work.
you.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
doesn't mean it works for you or you or
that's
you.
right.
Like I tell people, find one platform that you can
Yeah,
really sink your teeth into and learn to play and dominate that marketplace
yeah,
before you move on to something else. That doesn't mean you
yeah,
shouldn't be doing anything else. I
yeah.
believe true marketing and is being very holistic about your approach. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, if you're new to social media, don't be setting up 26 different channels on 27
No, don't
platforms and
do
trying to
that.
dominate. Like just find
Yeah,
one cool niche.
one
Yeah.
guy only. And remember to complete that profile wherever you live. Like,
Mm.
I don't do Flickr, but people do. I don't do Pinterest, people do. If you're an image-rich industry or you work in that industry, maybe you want to veer towards that. Complete your profile, fill it out, be
Mm.
complete, do things to completion.
Mhm.
And always, when you're playing in a new sandbox, observe first
Yes, good
before
advice.
chiming
Good
in.
advice. If
Yeah.
you had only one bullhorn to share your message, and that would be social media, a
Mhm.
blog, new email, newsletter, television, print. If you only had one platform, how would you best share your message with an audience?
Oh, exactly as I'm doing now, video podcasting.
Video
That's
podcasting.
my stuff. Yeah.
Why video I'm just curious because everybody has a different reason why they're doing this. And I ask you this in my onboarding form. Why do you want to be on the show? What
Mhm.
does this platform, what does, not in my show per se, but
No,
podcasting
your
in general?
show, your
But
show.
thank you. I appreciate that. We do have a really cool audience. But what does podcasting in of itself do for you, if you don't mind sharing that?
It really allows me to share my heart, my soul with you and who I am, my image, my likeness, my auditorily, I'm able to communicate with you. So it's a lot easier for me to do this for hundreds of or thousands of people than it is one individual person that I'm DMing, let's say on Instagram, who's getting that
Interesting. Yeah.
one-on-one, right?
And you're able to drop fantastic words like diaspora.
Speak on it.
I really appreciate your time on the show today. And for people want to find you, is there? I have your website here, so that's where I'm going to send them in the show notes. But it's
Absolutely.
zebrapublicrelations.com. Zebra.
.com.
Is there any other place you'd like people to find you? LinkedIn,
You
Instagram?
know what? Find me on LinkedIn at any time. We're also at Zebra Public Relations. I'm Kojenwa. I am me. I'm Kojenwa. You'll find me there on Instagram, also on LinkedIn. But you'll find Zebra Public Relations anywhere. there's usually like a big pink button that says book a call now. So anytime you need to reach out to have a chat about your brand, that system is completely automated, right? And as I say, super peer, you'll find us bottom right-hand corner on the website. That's where you just sign up for freebies, free content, newsletter content, marketing content. Reach out. We're here. We're
Yeah, I'm
here
going to
for
follow
that.
you on Instagram and LinkedIn. I see you here right
Yeah.
now. This was
Yeah.
a really fun conversation. I really appreciate you sharing your insights with us and your wisdom and taking the time. I know you've got a plethora of other things going on. And thank you for the listeners. I appreciate you joining us. I know you have choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you listening to Kojenwa share her insights. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. If you like what you hear, leave us a review. That helps me articulate and find amazing guests like Kojenwa today. Connect with us on social media, the channels, it's all in the notes below. And if you know of somebody who would be a great guest, Kojenwa, this is me asking you, and for those that are listening, please go to thebrandstoryteller.com and send in the link to apply to be a guest. My
Okay.
mission for this show is to bring amazing people like yourself onto the platform, share it with my amazing audience, and hopefully one listener gets a morsel or a tidbit of inspiration or insight or wisdom that they can carry with them and ripple effect through the universe and do something big with their life. So I really appreciate you dropping in and giving us some of your
Great
insights and
mission.
wisdom today.
Thank you so much. What a great mission. Love it.
Thank you. Until next time, I'm Deevo. I am the brand storyteller. You can find me at thebrandstoryteller.com or devotindall.com. And this is Kojenwa Moitt. She is with Zebra Public Relations. You are a fantastic guest. Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
listeners, for joining us on the Branding Laboratory. Thanks for tuning in to the Branding Laboratory. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media for more branding tips and insights. And remember, your story matters. Until next time, keep building and sharing your unique brand story. I'll see you soon.